It is one of the most famous and legendary racetracks in all of Europe, and here it will host the midway point of the Svenska Eracingligan season for the GT3 cars. It is the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, or simply known as Imola. Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Alongside me, my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso. Jason Sawford not here this week. Tony, a lot of great racing so far this season. It's been a lot of fun, and we come to the midway point right here at Imola.
It's amazing what we've been able to witness so far, Frank, as you have very talented drivers who take pride in honing their craft, putting that craft on display for us and the masses week in and week out. And the fact that they're jumping back and forth between the GT3 and the Gen 6 Cup car, it's nothing short of miraculous in itself, being as, okay, on paper they look very similar, but there's a completely different animal under the bodywork.
Yep, there absolutely is, and you can see this beautiful racetrack and somewhat of a rendering of the surrounding Italian neighborhoods. We'll take a quick look at the point standings here. Only two drivers have managed to win races this season. Sam Hammerstedt has three. Gustav Janssen has two. Hammerstedt, including his win at Mount Panorama 2 weeks ago, still finds himself behind Gustav Janssen in the points, even though these two have been trading wins back and forth.
They have, but you got to go back to the first couple of rounds, and when we came out of the sprint race and they did the inversion, Hammerstedt just could not get his way up through the field and actually got caught up in some dumpster fires early that were through no fault of his own.
And fortunately for Sam, he didn't have to worry about an inverse last week, or 2 weeks ago, last time out at Mount Panorama, as they went the full hour straight. As we see the remainder of the championship standings. We'll also take a look at the team standings, and as you would imagine, that Forza Esports team, whether it be Forza Esports or Forza Esports Academy, absolutely in complete and total control of this GT3 championship, 266 points clear of any other team.
They are at that, and the other thing to keep in mind with that team championship, Frank, it's only the top two drivers for each team that score the points. So, yeah, some of these teams have more than one car or whatever. They're only getting points off two cars per race. And the fact that Forza Esports sitting 1 and 2, and they've won all 5 races. Go figure, right?
It's been quite a run thus far. As we will take a look at some of the guys going around this racetrack. There is Sam Hammerstedt right now, currently out on track, just a couple of minutes away from the end of this practice session. As Sam Hammerstedt right now picking up right where he left off. He is 0.8 of a second clear of Gustav Janssen. This number 74 Mercedes is going to be a force to be reckoned with here today.
It usually is. If he can get into clean air and keep it there, forget it. You're not catching him. And, that's what we've seen all season. It's when the inverse happens and he tries to get his way through the slower traffic that things don't always go as planned.
And there will be an inversion here today. It is going to be a 20-minute sprint race and then a 45-minute endurance race here tonight. So there will be another split. There will be another inverse as we have ended this practice session and are on our way into qualifying for today's race. We've got, 20 drivers here, which, as we mentioned, it may seem like a small field for iRacing at least, but when you take a look at the real world, like the GT Challenge, it's actually a little bit bigger than a standard GT field.
It is, and don't let that scare you, folks, because I know usually the bigger the field, the more problems we have during the race. But with the talent level that's in this field from top to bottom, I don't think we're going to see too many major issues tonight, Frank.
No, I don't think so. It's going to be a 10-minute qualifying session, as per standard here in the GT side. As we're looking
10
at
minutes or 3 laps.
taking a look at Ricard Allard on track right now. And again, unlike genuine GT3, it is individual qualifying, so we're not out here in packs, we're not out here in groups. Philip Ansel and his Mercedes not that far behind Ricard Allard's Porsche. The split still very much favoring the Mercedes. We have 5 BMWs here, 3 Porsches, 1 Ferrari, and 1 Audi. And as iRacing continues to favor the brand new Mercedes Evo, so do the drivers.
I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that Mercedes has agreed to let iRacing have the 2022 F1 car at the end of the season.
Well, I mean, it's also partly that the Mercedes 1 is very good, and also iRacing does have a bit of a tendency to make the new car a little bit OP to kind of help people try to pick and choose. They'll do a balance of power on it hopefully soon, and we'll see a little bit of diversity as we head into season 6 for
Hopefully
this series.
hopefully before we go to the Rolex in January,
Yep.
they'll have this really sorted out, and everybody's got their ducks in a row, so to speak.
So we're seeing guys starting their first laps right now. We're looking at Philip Ansel, who is furthest along on his first lap. Ricard Allard not that far behind. There he is in the number 302 Porsche. You can hear that loud whine of that Porsche engine as he makes his way up towards Piratella at the top of the racetrack. Hard left-handed sweeper at Piratella before going to the double apex right of Aqua Minerale. Past, there we are.
Down the hill he comes.
Yep, on his way towards Variante Alta.
And Frank, the one thing I have noticed about this track, and you don't really catch it as much when you're behind the wheel, but you can really see it from the outboard cameras that we have here tonight. This track has a lot more elevation change than you would expect.
Yeah, this is not a flat racetrack by any stretch of the imagination. As we're seeing, as you would imagine, the fastest man on track right now. Purple in sectors 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sam Hammerstedt. Philip Ansel will set the first time at a 1:42.52, a very good time right now, but it appears as though it is going to get blown out of the water because here comes Hammerstedt across the start-finish line, and Hammerstedt will go to the top at a 1:41.6, a full 8.3 tenths of a second clear of anyone else.
Good grief.
Oh, 0.83. I'm sorry. I think I may have said 8.3.
No, 0.83. So just over 3/4 of a second to the good, which on a 3-mile road course like this is, that's an eternity on a road course.
Michael Haflidason, the closest one to him. There he is, going rather slowly in that AM Racing Team Porsche up out of Tosa. Yeah, he's off it. Take a look at Jesper Eriksson coming up Tosa now. Or up the hill out of Tosa, I should say. Back for Pontus Norgren, the one and only Ferrari in the field today.
Taking a lot of curbing there.
Going up through Alta. Tightest chicane on the track.
And really, Frank, this is going to be one of the first tracks where the new damage model that's on these cars can come into play because of those sausage curves. Yes, we had the rumble strips at Mount Panorama. There were walls, but that new damage model is really meant to prevent people from taking so much of the sausage curve and not being penalized for it during a race.
Victor Hammerstrom coming out of the Ravazza corners. 13th on his first lap in the Audi. Hammerstedt backed off, not resetting his fastest time. Hammerstrom stays put where he is. Take a look for Philip Axelson. Has just completed his time. Daniel Holmer in one of the BMWs. Currently the fastest of the BMWs. Barreling down toward Ravazza. Tim Arskog on his way towards the line now.
10th quick for Arskog.
Joachim Ulrichsen, one of the superior team drivers coming out of the Variante Bassa. He will go 17th quickest of the 17 that have attempted to qualify.
And a name that we haven't seen in a couple weeks, Yoko Ware is back with the group.
Not seeing him on track.
34.
Oh.
Way down there.
That's right. Yoko Ware coming in third position in the point standings. Was unable to set a valid qualifying time in his 2 laps.
He's got this final lap to try to get it done. Just enough time to do it. He's kind of playing it a little bit safer than he was in his first 2 flyers.
Here's Hammerstedt.
And he's not going to get a lap this time either because they negated Sector 2 on him.
Hammerstedt resets fastest lap at a 1:41.58. There's Yoko Ware. Felix Olsen crossing the line now. On his second lap, Olsen goes 15th quickest. Sebastian Magnussen on his way towards the line on his final lap. Well, they gave the lap to Ware up to 12th.
All right, then.
For the 34 Mercedes. Sebastian Magnussen betters his time, but not his position. Here comes Gustav Janssen. Current championship leader. Marcus Stiller not that far behind him. Janssen to second.
Wow.
42.4, but still 0.86 seconds off of Sam Hammerstedt.
That just makes that lap by Hammerstedt even that more impressive. The fact that, you know, you're with one of the strongest teams, and even with the strongest team around him, he's still able to throw that gauntlet that far down.
Marcus Stiller has completed 2 invalid laps. Felix Olsen might be able to get his car across the line. He's going through Alta now. Got about 50 seconds to go here in this qualifying session.
Well, he should have time. Just got to get through the double left-hander and he should be okay.
He should be good. I'm not sure about Marcus Stiller, though.
Right. A couple things to be mindful of here tonight, Frank. They are going to be very strict on track limits on the exit of turn 4 and the exit of turn 6, the exit of 7, 8, and 10, and throw in 12 and 15 for that matter.
So don't egregiously run off track anywhere and you'll be fine.
Pretty much, yeah. Stay off the grass. Think of this as the Goodwood Festival of Speed Hill Climb. The last thing you want is the Duke mad at you.
And as you just saw, that was Marcus Stiller getting his lap cut off, as we will now head to the grid for the effectively heat race here today. The quick sprint race. Sam Hammerstedt will sit on pole for that with a time of 1:41.583. Gustav Janssen 0.857 seconds off in second. Michael Haflidason and Philip Ansel will make up row number 2, with row 3 going to Jesper Eriksson and Daniel Holmer. Andreas Forss will make up row number 4 with Oscar Fredriksson. Row 5 goes to Robert Eriksson and Ricard Allard. Philip Axelson and Tim Arskog will make up a little bit more than the top half of the field.
Jelke Ware and Lucas Holmeren are going to roll off in row number 7. Victor Hemmerstrom and Sebastian Magnussen going to make up row number 8. Row 9 sees Felix Olsen and Philip Broberg. Pontius Norgren and Joachim Ulrichsen going to make up row number 10. And starting shotgun on the field, it's going to be Marcus Stiller. Now, at the end of this heat race, sprint race, whatever you want to refer to it as, the first 20-minute race that we're going to see here, they're going to invert the top 20, which means whoever finishes dead last, guess where you're starting in the feature? Dead spanking last.
Don't finish last, and you'll be all right.
You hope.
As that could definitely turn out to be the race worth watching. Not necessarily the race for the win, but the race to finish in 20th, because that means you are on pole for the next race. Coming right now, this is going to be down past Variante Alta, going down into the Ravazza corners is where we will get this race going. Tony, bring us away.
As the field comes out of the final corner, sprint race getting ready to fire it off. Hammerstedt has the button as the pace truck peels on off. We're getting ready to turn them loose. 20 minutes on the clocks. Gentlemen, start your timers. Here we go for the sprint portion of the event, Frank.
Big run as Hammerstedt goes single file going down into Tamburello. Gustav Janssen looking to the inside, can't quite get a move. Looking, though, throughout the field that through Tamburello, everyone getting away clean. No one's around backwards. Everyone is still straight as we head on to Villeneuve.
Janssen giving Hammerstedt all he can handle right now up at the front of this piece. They're starting to pull a little bit of a gap on Michael Haflidason as a big move out of Ansel down on the low side. I'm sorry, that was Eriksson on Ansel. Those two guys go door to door coming up through the kinks. Yikes.
Eriksson with an aggressive move to get past Ansel as they head down towards Aqua Minerale.
No quarter asked for, no quarter given here in the early goings, but I'm seeing a lot of guys taking way too much sausage curb this early in this 20-minute race.
And what Tony's referring to is this past season update. There is now progressive damage, so the more and more you hit those sausage curbs, the harder and harder you hit them, the more and more likely it is that you will do damage to your car and end up having something break.
And with the fact that the suspension arms on these cars are not aluminum, titanium, magnesium, or steel, they are carbon fiber. Yeah, they're going to bend and spring back, but you can still work hard in carbon fiber.
Sam Hammerstedt right now leading away as they head to Tamburello again for the second time. A 0.7 of a second lead for Sam Hammerstedt. Michael Haflidason currently running in the third position. There he is in the AM Racing Team Mercedes. As Forz Esports, whether it be Forz Esports or Forz Esports Academy, currently holding 1, 2, and 4. Philip Ansel not that far behind. It's a Mercedes top 5 with Daniel Holmer, the first non-Mercedes, as I think Philip Broberg has had an off he has in his Porsche.
Not the way he was looking to open this race up, as it looks like he just had an off track, just lost a couple of spots, only about 2 of them.
Fortunately, he's only got one more to lose.
Oh, remember what I was saying about sausage curbs?
And we're going to take a look and see right now what happened with Philip Roberg. Gets wobbly through the beginning of Villeneuve and then clips the curb coming through the second bit, and that's certainly going to do it every time.
Yeah, it absolutely is. That's not where you want to be doing this early.
Lucas Holmeren around Pontus Nordgren. Jesper Eriksson has had an off, and he is around in Rivazza. Man who was running in P4 is now going to find himself battling for 20th.
And Dan Solo checking in the YouTube chat saying that the old damage model is on these cars, not the new one.
Oh, okay. So fair enough.
Fair enough then.
Daniel Holmer running side by side through Tamburello with Michael Heflidesen. Heflidesen does get the position through. Oscar Fredriksson now looking on that BMW. See here in just a moment. Big diving move there from Eriksson. I don't think he realized Andreas Forss was coming with such a run. Forss really had to check up as Fredriksson was going for the move on Holmer.
That could have ended all sorts of poorly. It's a good thing everybody was heads up when that did take place. But these guys, nobody's really pushing the issue yet. Nobody's wanting to put their car in a bad position, but we're still seeing some pretty good racing, even if it's not side by side.
Got about 15 minutes left here already in this heat race. We'll take a look. We've had a couple of incidents happen here. First of all, this is what happened with Jesper Eriksson, again coming down through Rivazza. Very easy to do. You take a get into Rivazza a little bit too hard. Back end decides to step around on you, and that's exactly what happened with Eriksson. A little bit later on, Lucas Holmeren caught grass going into Tamburello. That's exactly why that gravel trap is there. And Joachim Ulriksson, who ends up getting hit off going into Villeneuve.
Yeah, that was not bueno at all.
Pontus Nordgren taking Tosa a little bit wide. As the lone Ferrari in the field on the home track for the manufacturer, Sam Hammerstedt. Currently 3.5 seconds clear of Gustav Jansson. Just set the fastest lap of the race, a full second faster than anybody else. Hammerstedt a 42.01. Gustav Jansson set his fastest lap of the race last time around, a 43 flat.
And Frank, can I have you grab a picture of Richard Allred's car?
Ricard Allard?
Ricard Allard.
There he is right there.
Tell me what you see on his windscreen.
Give me a second. Ricky Bobby, there it is.
Help me, Oprah Winfrey. Help me, Tom Cruise.
Heading on board of that Porsche. As he heads through the Variante Bassa. These are 2 corners around Imola. And this right here technically is turn 1. The sweeping left is considered turn 1 around here, and then going into 2, 3, and 4 at Tamburello.
I still wish they would give us the old Tamburello layout before that chicane.
The old sweeper. As Tim Arskog working on the back of Philip Axelson. Going into Tosa, that's certainly one place to get the job done. Axelson getting a very good run out of Tosa, though. Make the run up to Piratella difficult for Arscog. We'll keep the position, at least for now.
Arscog's just biding his time. He knows that, there's still quite a bit of time left in this race. We're not even to the halfway mark yet of this sprint race. And, it doesn't make any sense to really battle someone hard at this point in time, because you're going to be able to make it up in the later going because you're going to have more tire than they are.
Yoko Ware battling just behind these guys. This little treble battle here for 10th. Two Mercedes and a BMW a little bit further ahead. Andreas Force in the 339 Porsche with Robert Eriksson in that Team Superior Mercedes, really hounding the back end of that Porsche 911 GT3.
It's one of the things we've seen all season so far. When you get into the twisties, the nimbleness of the Porsche can hold off the brute power of the big bad Mercs. But, as soon as you get onto any sort of decent straightaway, the Porsche just doesn't have the grunt to be able to keep up.
It's mid-engine versus front engine between the Porsche and the Mercedes. Actually, I think it might be a little bit more front on the Porsches. Lucas Holmgren has had an off.
No, the Porsche is still, it's a mid-engine. The engine sits right over the rear axle instead of behind it. But the other thing to consider, too, is where the engine placement in the Mercedes, it's behind the front axle. So technically, both cars are mid-engine if you really want to, get into semantics about it.
Two offs there. Ooh.
Yeah.
Or two offs there. Lucas Holmgren in the BMW. Going around, that was Marcus Stiller. Stiller pushing Philip Broberg off. And that's something you've seen at Imola far too often, is sliding off into that tire wall at the back end of Villeneuve.
And you can see the damage on the Porsche of Broberg. That car is not happy right now. Now, the other thing these guys are going to really have to keep in mind tonight, Frank, there's a penalty count of 15x. Anything over 15, it's a pass-through penalty. And then every 10x after that, it's another pass-through. So dip a tire here, dip a tire there, take too much curb, expand track limits. It adds up quickly.
Certainly does. Gioca Huer getting around Tim Arscog. Now Arscog trying to battle back in that not the 013, I was looking at the wrong one.
124.
The 124 BMW. And
We can speak tonight, folks. We promise we can.
Again, Gioca Huer coming into this round of the season, running in third. There's Victor Hammerstrom. And the reason why we are focusing on that Audi right now is because he has just had an off as well. This is going into Tamburello. A little bit too wide on the exit of turn 3. Unsettles him coming out of turn 4. And that Audi has nothing to do.
Just a slight kiss on that tire wall.
So while Sam Hammerstedt currently leads this race, we're about 8 minutes to go. As Sam Hammerstedt leads this race, Philip Broberg is currently in the position you would want to be in. Joachim Ulrichsen is done for the event thus far. Oh, no, pardon me, he's still rolling. Joachim Ulrichsen currently finds himself 1 minute and 40 seconds behind Philip Broberg on track, and Broberg is the one who will be starting P1 once the feature race begins, if the race were to end right now.
That's some sort of solace, but Pontius Norgren has a shot at that as well, as Broberg is starting to reel in the lone Ferrari in the field.
That lone Ferrari, though, is going to have to do a lot of losing, as Broberg currently finds himself 14.5 seconds behind Pontus Norgren. Battle between Joko Ware and Tim Arskog starting to settle down just a little bit. Oscar Fredriksson in the 112 Mercedes, right in the foreground, holding Andreas Forrest, Robert Eriksson, and Ricard Allard behind. Eriksson and Forrest have been going at it for these last couple of laps. Not really giving much of an inch, are these two.
And you got to wonder, how much is that Porsche really holding up that Mercedes? It seems like Oscar Fredriksson in front of them can pull away at will, whereas, you know, Eriksson's kind of held up behind Fours, and Fours isn't really giving him an opening to try to get through.
Fours in that 339 Porsche for Team Bushfink Racing. Highest running of the Team Bushfink competitors right now. Ricard Allard just 2 positions behind him. Tim Arskog has really drawn that gap closer to Joko Ware. Jesper Eriksson, though, has caught these guys and is turning this into a 4-way battle now.
This is that. The only thing is, he's running out of time quickly to get it done and try to get a little bit further forward. Even to get into the top 10, it's going to be yeoman's work for Eriksson if he can pull it off.
Again, you would like the points. You'd like as many points as you want, but you'd also want to start up front. Jesper Eriksson setting his fastest lap of the race at a 1:43.039 that last time around. However, unfortunately, he'd run off somewhere, and it was a red lap.
Well, the other thing to consider, too, especially with Ricard Allard, Philip Axelsen, Joko Ware, Tim Arskog, and Jasper Eriksson, they're in the middle of the field. All they're going to do is just swap spots with each other as of right now. You know, it's not going to mean a whole hill of beans when we get into the feature or the endurance portion of the event. You know, so that's another peace of mind that they have. It's okay, where I am is where I am, and it's probably where I'm going to be for the remainder of this race, unless somebody in front of me makes a huge mistake, which doesn't usually happen.
Philip Ansel has gotten around Michael Heflidesen a couple of laps ago, but Heflidesen starting to put the pressure back on that Mercedes of Ansel. Daniel Homer working his way towards this pair. Jesper Eriksson coming out of Tosa up the hill towards Piratella. Couldn't quite put the move on Tim Arskog's BMW. There's a lot of very good close racing with these guys right now. I believe Joko Ware did not get out of Aqua Minerale the way he would have wanted to. Now these guys, to Tony's point, would be starting 10th, 9th, 8th, and 7th right now for the main race.
So not that far off from where they currently are.
Just flipped up a couple of spots. Eric Axelson right now has that 10th position, so that is where he will remain.
As Michael Hepledison is giving Philip Ansel all he can handle right now, as those two are coming up through Villeneuve right now.
Michael Hepledison, last lap, just about a 10th off his best. Oh, big dive on the Mercedes. A little bit of contact between the two, and that will send Ansel around. Philip Ansel tried to shut the door as best he could. Hepledison was going through it, whether he closed it or not. We were riding on board with Hepledison for that move.
And there absolutely was contact, Frank.
Oh, absolutely. You could see the onboard. There was no questioning about that, as that's Robert Ericsson sliding off at the second bit of Aqua Minerale. Very easy to do.
He looped that all by his lonesome.
Yep, he did. It's too hot into the corner, trying to brake for turn 10 and just back end sails around. I would know. I've done it many a time.
So you're saying you're an expert on stepping on your own junk here.
That's exactly why I was so knowledgeable about it.
Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt stolen because of it.
Got about a minute left. Let's take a look and see what happened. This is with Philip Ansel and Michael Hepledison. Again, we were on board with the 81 for this. Ansel takes the defensive line. Hepledison sticks it right on the curb. Ansel doesn't give a lot of room, and he ends up losing out for it. And then here's what happened with Robert Ericsson. See, turn 9 is so fast, and then you have to brake while you're turning. Oh, he may have caught some grass there as well, did the 35.
It's a good possibility.
Sam Hammerstedt is a little bit more than halfway through the lap with 15 seconds to go. He is coming through Aqua Minerale on his way to Variante Alta now with a 9-second lead over Gustav Jansson. Completing his 12th lap, and I believe this will be it for the sprint race.
But so, Frank, I don't know about you, but I'm watching this slugfest. It's an all-out brawl for 6th right now.
Yeah, we'll see it here. There it is. Andreas Forss and Philip Ansel. Ansel trying to get as many positions back as he can. That will be the end of the heat race. Sam Hammerstedt comes across the line. He will take his 4th victory of the season. He has swept the heat races thus far. Gustav Jansson will come home in 2nd. Michael Hepledison finishes in 3rd. And Andreas Forss will just hold on against Philip Ansel. As we look through the rest of the field coming across the line, Tony, what a sprint.
That was fun. That was actually fun to watch. It kind of reminded me of a short track Saturday night kind of deal over here in the States with short track oval racing of you only got a handful of laps to get it done, just go. You know, you screw the pit strategy, screw the tire strategy, get as far forward as you can, and then do what you can to keep everybody else behind you. And that's what we saw here.
Seeing Pontus Nordgren right now. He is currently running in 19th position. So here at the home of Ferrari, there will be a Ferrari on the front row for the 45-minute feature race here. And then you can tell by the left rear of the wing there, a battered and beaten Philip Broberg will start on pole for that Bright Esports Porsche for the main event tonight. Taking a look through. Take a look at the results here for the sprint race. Here tonight, Sam Hammerstedt, Gustav Jansson, and Michael Hepledison will take the top 3 spots. Daniel Holmer, Oscar Fredrickson, and Oscar Fredrickson will take home the top 5 positions. Andreas Forrest, Philip Ansel, Ricard Allard, Philip Axelson, Robert Eriksson will take home the top 10, with Tim Arskog rounding out the top half of the field.
Sorry about that.
P12.
P12. Sebastian Magnuson, Felix Olsen, Marcus Stiller, Lucas Holmgren, and rounding out your top 15, Jaco Ware 16th, 17 going to Victor Hammerstrom, Jasper Eriksson in 18th, 19th going to the lone Ferrari in the field, Pontius Norgren, Philip Bromberg, by virtue of finishing in 20th, is going to start from the pole position for the endurance race.
Joachim Ulrichsen coming home 1 lap down. And we will take this time now to take a quick break. We thank you all very much for being as active as you are in the chat. We'll see you on the other side of this break. We'll be back right after this. Well, the automatic camera change means that we are gridding up here for the feature race tonight, and we'll take a look at the poll, at the grid, and how these guys will stack up. By virtue of finishing in 20th, Philip Broberg will start on the pole here for this feature race. Pontus Nordgren will make up row number one in position number 2. Row 2 goes to Jesper Eriksson and Victor Hammerström. Joko Ware and Lucas Holmgren will make up row number 3. Marcus Stiller and Felix Olsen in row 4. Sebastian Magnusson and Tim Arskog will make up row 5. Robert Eriksson and Philip Axelsson will make up the top half of the field.
Ricard Allard and Philip Ansel going to roll off in row number 7. Row 8 sees Andreas Fors and Oscar Fredriksson, Dan Holmer and Mike Haflidason. Going to start it in row 9. Row 10, Gustav Jansson and Sam Hammerstadt, with Joachim Ulrichsen starting shotgun on the field. 21 cars, Frank. 40 minutes to get it done. 60 minutes to get it done here at Imola.
It will certainly be a good one. Real quick look at the weather conditions here. Just past 2 p.m. in sim time. A 10-kilometer wind, 24 degrees Celsius ambient, 46 degrees Celsius on track conditions. The field is bunching up. We are getting ready to go back to racing. We're off and running once again here at Imola.
Broberg went hella early there. As the field now takes the green, everybody's kind of jockeying for position here. Pontius Nordgren did not get the initial hit that he wanted, and he's around.
Boy, he got a different kind of hit off into the gravel in Tamburello. We're still running very close.
Minga.
Going into Villeneuve. Still side by side again. These are the fun parts of this race. The 35 goes off. So does the 877 going off. We're 3 wide in some places going into Tosa.
That's never a good idea.
Sebastian Magnusson and Robert Eriksson, the 2-team superior Mercedes, both going off in Villeneuve. Side by side to Piratella.
Boy, Jonas Fors just sends it way wide.
Ricard Allard has had an off as well. You see Michael Haflidason in the number 81. Boy, getting really close with Robert Eriksson. Andreas Fors has had a problem around in the back. One of the Team Bushvink cars. Robert Eriksson continuing to fall back. Now falls behind Sam Hammerstead. We'll get you updated on all the incidents as this sort of settles down here. But Jesper Eriksson right now currently in hold of the race lead in that number 37 Mercedes. Joko Ware jumping up into the second position. Lucas Holmgren running in fourth. Felix Olsen completes the top 5. The 117 of Philip Broberg has found himself back in 19th on the first lap with heavy damage to that Porsche.
Oh, he absolutely has. That's not what he was hoping for either.
Again, once we settle down a little bit, we will take a look back and see everything that happened on that first lap. Victor Hammerström with Philip Ansel behind him. Ansel to the inside going through Tosa. Takes the spot. Boy, look at Sam Hammerstedt. Or pardon me, that's Gustav Jansson and Michael Haflidason side by side out of Tosa on the way up to Piratella.
These guys are just... You would think this is the sprint race. We're only lap 2 into the first hour of this piece, guys.
This is our 3rd sprint weekend of the season. And in both scenarios prior to this, Sam Hammerstedt has won the initial race, had won the sprint race. That's Sebastian Magnusson in the 877 going around. Ricard Allard and Robert Eriksson side by side. Going down towards Rivazza. In both instances, Sam Hammerstedt has won the initial sprint race, and Gustav Jansson has won the feature. Only time Gustav Jansson has not won a feature race was last week, or the last time out 2 weeks ago in Mount Panorama, where there was no sprint race prior to the feature. And the same will be in 2 weeks' time when we head to Sebring, another hour-long feature.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's kind of good that these guys do shake it up the way that they do. But right now, that is a slugfest for 6 between Philip Axelsen and Philip Ansel. No quarter asked for, no quarter given between those two big, bad Mercedes.
Axelsen in the 019 Mercedes for Team Superior. Philip Ansel, as that's Tim Arskog in the BMW going off in the back. Philip
Something
Broberg.
major just happened to Broberg.
Yeah, he's taken it pit side.
Via a tow, I might add.
Has that 117 Porsche. Jesper Eriksson has set the fastest lap of the race at a 142.48 thus far. It's a little bit of a weave as we head on towards Variante Alta. Jesper Eriksson has gotten away by about 2 seconds over Joko Ware. Ware is 3.5 seconds ahead of Lucas Holmgren, as it is Mercedes, Mercedes, BMW, BMW, and then 5 Mercedes before you get back to the Porsche of Ricard Allard.
And that Porsche of Ricard Allard is in a hornet's nest right now.
He's leading it. Talk a lot.
Like you're mowing your grass on a hot summer's day, and all of a sudden the swarm just starts chasing you across your yard, and you're trying to spray beer at them over your shoulder. That's the type of situation he's in right now.
Talk a lot in Formula One as we ride on board with Gustav Jansson in the 336. Talk a lot in Formula One about a cork in the bottle scenario. And that at least appears to be what Ricard Allard has found himself in. As Allard and Philip Ansel is around. There's a couple of guys around. Michael Heflidesen is way off.
Sam Hammerstadt's one of them too.
Well, Hammerstadt's rolling again. Up in 8th is that 74. Boy, we got a lot to look at here over the first 6 minutes of this race. And once this battle here between Hammerstedt and Allard calms down, which I'm pretty sure will happen soon.
You hope.
I was going to say Gustav Jansson has fallen well behind Sam Hammerstedt, and that was part of what I was mentioning with Allard being 4 seconds behind Hammerstedt at 3 wide coming out of Alta. Sam Hammerstedt puts a big block. Or pardon me, that was Gustav Jansson, I believe.
I was about to say you weren't live if that was Hammerstedt.
Well, it was Hammerstedt putting the block on Holmer as Hammerstedt gives the elbow to Tim Arskog through Rivazza.
So you're saying he got the old Spanish archer, the elbow,
Yes,
huh?
he did. Stuck the elbows out a little bit too far. Let's go back and take a look here finally at everything that's happened here thus far during the race as Marcus Stiller, trying to defend away from Sam Hammerstedt. Both of those guys getting out of control.
How'd that work for you?
I'm expecting Hammerstedt to have this coming through Villeneuve. And there he goes. Lucas Holmgren and Felix Olsen battling for third. We'll take a break with the live action here before we continue on. Pontus Nordgren looks like he just caught grass going into Tamburello on the opening salvo. Sebastian Magnussen also having a problem. Running a little bit wide for turn 4, this is a Villeneuve, pardon me. This is the lockup we saw before. here is what happened with Philip Broberg to put him, well, oh, a little bit late on that. Here's what happened to Philip Broberg to put him off track. That is Jesper Eriksson. Oh, Eriksson gave him a big shot going into Tosa.
Yeah, unfortunately he did, and that's not what you want to see ever, but everybody keeps rolling.
Andreas Forss and Joachim
Hammerstad's
Ulrichsen.
in.
Hammerstad pitting from 7th. This would happen to Andreas Forss. A little bit of an accordion effect going through the first lap, going through Aqua Minerale. That was all on the first lap. Here's lap 2. This is what happened to Sebastian Magnussen. Going into Variante Alta. It's caught a little bit too much gas coming out of Alta. Gustav Janssen having it off on lap 3. I think this is why Janssen was so far behind. Yep, that's why Janssen was so far behind. Hammerstead had an issue with Victor Hammerstrom.
To quote our good friend Justin White after something similar that happened last night, bing bong.
And here's what happened down at Tosa with Philip Ansel, Sam Hammerstead, and Marcus Stiller. Haflidason goes for another move. Ooh. Yeah, that was just a mess right there.
Someone just got yeeted.
Looked like Haflidason went for a move on Ansel, thought better of it after what happened during the sprint race. Ansel then went for a move on the 013 of Marcus Stiller. Hammerstead had nowhere to go and everybody went around. It's Marcus Stiller having another moment. This is with Gustav Janssen right behind him. Aqua Minerale catches grass, and away he goes. It's a very efficient self-cleaning corner, that.
I've noticed that. It's good to see that over here in the European continent.
A lot going on in this, the early stages of this main feature race here. Jesper Eriksson 6 seconds clear of Joko Ware. Ware is 6 seconds clear of these three. Lucas Holmeren running in 3rd. Felix Olsen in 4th. Philip Axelsen in 5th. Seeing 3, 4, and 5 on your screen right now. Heading up through Piratella, and that was a big wiggle there out of Philip Axelsen in that Mercedes.
Yeah, that was definitely tail wagging the dog at that point. But Axelsen keeps it pointed in the right direction, or at least relatively in the right direction, and we stay in this one. And we'll go back to right around 14th and 15th as Joachim Ulrichsen and Andreas Forss have been just bumper to bumper for the last 3 laps anyways.
That's Ulrichsen in the 311 BMW, who had an absolute mare of a sprint race. And Andreas Forss, who's already been around backwards here in the feature. Robert Eriksson trying to hold Michael Haflidason at bay. Ricard Allard down into pit road in the 302 Porsche. Passing Allard now, you might see the wing. A very, very long pit road here at Imola, and it didn't used to be that way prior to Formula One leaving back in 2006, I believe it was the last F1 Grand Prix here.
Yes.
Andreas Forss now finally gets the move done going into Tamburello, but runs wide. Too hot on the dive. Ulrichsen takes the spot back.
And right in front of that battle, Haflidason and Eriksson going after each other for 9th and 10th.
Haflidason gets the spot. Victor Hammerstrom, that number 62 Audi, has pulled off Oh, he's backwards at Villeneuve is where he is. See what happened with Hammerstrom. Just behind that 339 that we were just watching.
Looks like he may have
jumped the sausage.
Caught too much curb, and around she went as he tried to lay the power in.
Now, the sausage curbs around here are less sausage curbs and more speed bumps, in a way to deter the drivers from taking too much of the inside corner. There are some sausage curbs around here, such as what you just saw at Alta. But we'll ride on board here with Magnussen. That's a big dive on the inside there from Sam Hammerstedt. Nothing much coming through here through the Ravazza corners, but watch when we go down into Tamburello for the first time. The first time of us riding on board with him, at least.
Yeah, those aren't really sausage curves. Those are more of what they call a hyper dot.
Yeah, they're almost like speed bumps here. See the black ridges there? That's what we just saw Victor Hammerstrom jump over going into Villeneuve. Ulrichsen on board of his BMW. He's getting passed up by Sam Hammerstedt as well.
Hammerstedt a couple laps, like 2 laps ago, just set the fastest lap of the event with a 42.37.
Now, worth noting, you had mentioned that Sam Hammerstedt came down pit road. He did not come down pit road to pit. He had a drive-through
because of the incident limit
points,
that's tonight. For every 15x to start with, and then every 10x after that, you have to do a pass-through penalty.
Looking at the 690 BMW of Felix Olsen, and the reason why we're doing that is because of this. Going down into Variante Alta, tries to make a move on Daniel Holmer, then turns it into a defense. On the 019, catches too much of the curb on the way out, and slides the car.
Not exactly what he wanted to do there.
I don't think so. It's Lucas Holmgren, by the way, not Daniel Holmer, that he was battling with there. Goes from 4th to 7th, does Felix Olsen.
Well, you know, Frank, it could be worse.
I'm sure it could be. It could be Daniel Holmer, who's having an off right now as we speak, or had an off.
No, I was going to say we could be in Oswego, New York right now calling a race that has Alan Johnson, Danny Johnson, Jack Johnson, Byron Johnson, and Mark Johnson all in it.
It's the Johnson split. It's
pretty much, yeah.
Oscar Fredrickson looks to the inside at Piratella, forces Felix Olsen to run a little bit wide. Move Oscar Fredrickson in the 112 for Force Esports up into P7. Sam Hammerstedt into 13th position. And unfortunately, it looks as though with the penalty that he has had to serve today, does not appear as though that 74 is going to take his first sprint weekend feature win here this time around.
He's got to make up almost 36 seconds. That's virtually undoable.
Fastest man in qualifying by 8.5 tenths of a second. Untouched in the sprint race.
Math majors, you can get your hate mail coming now on that one.
Oh, there you go. I figured that would be a little bit easier than me accidentally saying 8.5 seconds again.
True. But, you know, a buddy of mine that I used to room with was a math major, and every time he'd hear me say stuff like that during a broadcast, he'd just cringe. And you could hear him over the broadcast, like, "Yep, get your hit meal coming now, folks." I make no apologies.
Gustav Janssen, you see the big dent just behind, just in front of the left rear wheel for Gustav Janssen, currently running in 5th. Quite a gap has formed up at the front here. Jesper Eriksson in the 37 for Force Esports. Almost loses it over the curb there at Rivazza. Currently holding a 10.5 second lead. Was that a little bit better for you?
Yeah.
A 10.5 second lead over Hyoko Ware again coming into this race 3rd place in points. So having a very solid run in that Mercedes. Lucas Holmgren is 9.5 seconds behind, as I think you might be talking about the Heflidesen-Olsen battle, as Olsen comes down pit road.
No, Heflidesen had sent it up the inside, and I think that kind of spooked Olsen, like, yeah, I'm coming pit side this time. I'm not sticking around for this.
Philip Axelsen in the 019 still keeping Gustav Janssen at bay, at least for the moment.
Sam Hammerstedt doing what Sam Hammerstedt things, just reset fast lap of the race.
As you do, typically.
142.33.
There goes Gustav Janssen up into 4th. Ooh, pass not quite clear coming out of Tosa. Bit of wheel-to-wheel contact between Janssen and Axelsen. Janssen has the preferred line going into Piratella. Still that 019 not willing to give it up. Axelsen's still there as they head into Aqua Minerale.
Eepers. And the fact that they haven't hit each other is more impressive.
It's a big swing there by
another
Janssen
coat of paint, they would have been in trouble.
Big swing by Janssen. Now Janssen trying to keep both of those guys at bay as Holmer now puts an attack on Axelsen. Oscar Fredriksson in the 112, a very keen observer right now.
Oh, absolutely, because he'd love to get as many points as he can for his Force Esports team, but he's got 2 interlopers in between him and his teammate.
Force Esports leading this race right now. Force Esports Academy running 3rd and 4th as Homer looks to the outside, or looks to the left side, I should say, of Philip Axelsen, and that was a power move by Daniel Homer. What a move going around the outside in Tamburello.
Some might even say it's a ballsy kind of move.
Some might.
I happen to be one of those people who would call it that. But right now, that slugfest between Dan Homer, Philip Axelsen, and Oscar Fredriksson is it's your closest battle on track by far. And those 3 guys have not given an inch to each other for the last 5 laps.
Absolutely not. Biggest mover of the race, by the way, is the man who currently sits in 4th, Gustav Janssen. Janssen finds himself only about a 1.5 seconds adrift of Lucas Holmgren.
Frank, take a look at the left side of that car. Does it look like he's hit something?
Janssen?
Or been hit by something?
Yes. Yeah, that would have been from lap 1.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you see the door all caved in on that thing.
It's right in front of that left wheel well there.
And the chrome really highlights it.
It does. So if you ding your car up a little bit, don't paint it chrome.
Probably not. Probably not your best idea.
Oscar Fredriksson still putting Philip Axelsen under a lot of duress. And we'd like to thank everyone in the live chats whether it be here with us on YouTube or on Svenska Racing on Twitch. As there goes the 112 of Fredriksson for the 6th position. Gustav Jansson and Lucas Holmeren also swapping places for 3rd. Sergeant Dogs rooting for Team Superior. Over on the Twitch side of things, we got several. Racer Bjorn, Macus 74 going for the Forest team. I'm also seeing Dennis Schrepp going for Team Superior on the Twitch side.
Longtime friend of the channel, Marcus Hagman, checking in, saying, go Sam, Gustav, Oscar, and Jasper.
Did that on both.
Oh, there you go then. Marcus spreading the love. Good to have you, bud.
Doubling his chances for a shout out with that.
Glad we could be of service to you as you're missed sorely on the track, my friend.
Frederick Eriksson going for Robert Eriksson.
As you do.
Robert Eriksson currently running in the 8th position. Philip Axelson and Philip Ansel both coming down pit road. Philip Ansel had an off, it appears. This is, oh, that's it. Aqua Minerale.
Now, Frank, I don't know if you've realized or not, but just over the last handful of laps, Sam Hammerstedt is now back in the top 10.
He is going to have to make a pit stop, though. He only had the drive-through.
Back on lap 5.
Yep, earlier on. So he is going to have to pit. Jesper Eriksson leading by 14.5 seconds over Hyoko Ware right now. Gustav Jansson currently running in 3rd. Pontus Nordgren, the one and only Ferrari at Ferrari's home track, down and away out of pit road.
Not the night he was hoping for.
Absolutely not.
Just got sent going into Tamarello on lap 1.
Joachim Ulrichsen battling with Michael Haflidason. Now Haflidason has come into pit. Came into pit on lap 12. We're currently working lap 15. As we are just under 20 minutes to go here at Imola. Daniel Holmer in. Sam Hammerstedt stopping in the box.
And that slugfest between Eriksson and Arskog is not, wow.
Sebastian Magnussen and Philip Axelson going side by side into Tamburello. Axelson braver on the brakes. Axelson, by the way, for Axelson coming in a couple of laps ago, at least if my timing and scoring is right, it's not showing he stopped in the box either. So Axelson may have had a pass-through penalty as well. Holmer and Lucas Holmer, and with another Forza Esports driver behind him.
Something just happened to Felix Olsen as well.
There's Felix Olsen wiggling that car out of the final Rivazza corner. As Olsen coming down pit road, so is the race leader, Jesper Eriksson. Give us some time here to look at what happened with Felix Olsen. This is going down into Rivazza.
Looks like he just lost the back end.
Yep, same thing. Same thing that happened earlier on with Jesper Eriksson during the sprint race. However, unlike Eriksson, he was able to realize it, catch it. It was the 311 of Joachim Ulrichsen has had an off. Andreas Forss in pit road. Philip Axelsen down pit road. This is Ulrichsen. Boy, he got in a little bit too hot. Ended up running into the back of the Porsche that was in front of him there. I believe Ricard Allard was the Porsche he ran into. Hyoko Ware in the race lead at the moment. Robert Eriksson, Tim Arskog, Andreas Forss, Philip Axelsen, Sebastian Magnussen, Victor Hammerstrom, Marcus Stiller, Ricard Allard, Joachim Ulrichsen, all in pit road. Marcus Stiller, I believe, had towed to pit road, which is why he's jumped up to the top of the SDK leaderboard there. There he goes, back down to his spot. And here comes Hyoko Ware.
The question is, when is Frederick's going to peel off? As he's coming through the final couple of corners now, and it looks like he's coming to pit side this time.
Here he comes. Those yellow lines, and you hear that beeping, that alternating beeping. That is letting these drivers know you need to have the put the pit limiter on. You are officially in pit road.
And look who won the pony.
Jesper Eriksson back out in front. Take a look at that battle again. That's Michael Havlidesen battling with Tim Arskog and Andrea Forss behind him. It's a battle 10th, 11th, and 12th right now, these three. Fredrickson comes back out in 4th. Hyoko Ware comes back out in 2nd. As you would have expected, so the pit cycle has gone through. We have 15 minutes left to go. We'll bring you the final 15 minutes right after a quick break. Back to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino. There it is. Otherwise known as Imola, more simply known as Imola. You're seeing the battle on track right now between Tim Arscog, Michael Haflidason, and Andreas Force at the moment. Jesper Eriksson currently with a 16.5 second lead here for Force Esports. As Force Esports continues its clean sweep of the GT3 series. Hammerstedt, the winner of the sprint race at Suzuka, Gustav Jansson, the winner of the feature race at Suzuka. Same song and dance at Road Atlanta. Mount Panorama, no sprint race. Sam Hammerstedt took the win there. Hammerstedt taking the win in the sprint race here. And now Jesper Eriksson looking to become only the third unique winner through 4 races, well, 4 official race days and 7 official races here in the GT3 series. Joko Huer came into this race third in points, holding on to a very solid second position. Started in the 5th position for this feature race and has held on. Gustav Jansson, the biggest mover of the race, 6.5 seconds behind Joko Huer. Currently running in 3rd, and even with the time penalty, Sam Hammerstedt currently running in 4th, just got past Oscar Fredriksson, another Force Esports driver. So Force currently occupies P1, 3, 4, and 5.
You know, we've said it before, I'll say it again. One of the strongest teams in the entirety of the iRacing servers. You know, whenever you see the Force boys roll into a show, you pretty much can guarantee you're most likely racing for second.
Andreas Force in that 339 Porsche was around backwards at Aqua Minerale earlier on in the feature race. Michael Haflidason has had his incidents in the feature after coming home in a top 3 position in the sprint race. Put it up on screen right now here really quick. The final results for that sprint race once again. There they are. As we are inside of 10 minutes to go here in the feature.
And Frank, this might not be a surprise to you, but go with me on this one.
Uh-oh.
We've spoken a lot in other leagues about the iRacing or iRating of the drivers in the field.
Yes, we have.
Want to take a guess what the average of the top 10 in this race are right now?
Higher than me.
Higher than Snoop Dogg, but keep going.
Give me a 5.4K. And no, I'm not looking.
Close. Very close. 5,672. The leader of that pack being Sam Hammerstedt
I couldn't imagine.
with a 7,333 I rating. Dude, I'm lucky to have a 1,500.
That's coming from a guy who hasn't been around a track in about 2 years. Robert Eriksson looking to try to put a move on Lucas Holmer, and instead Holmer now breaks himself going into Tamburello, giving Eriksson the spot. That was for P8 between those two.
Not what he was hoping for at all.
Certainly not.
Your 2 biggest movers in this race so far are the teammates, Gustav Jansson and Sam Hammerstedt. currently both sitting plus 16, sitting third and fourth respectively on track right now.
Show the lap time history between the two, by the way. Janssen, 143.6s. Yeah, Hammerstedt's only about a second quicker a lap. That lap 17 was Janssen coming down to pit road. Hammerstedt out on track.
And coincidentally, Hammerstedt with these, Janssen with the second highest I rating on track at 52.63.
So they're good, is what you're saying?
Yeah. It's one of those deals where you try to game the system going into an endurance race, and you have your guy with your lowest I rating sign up for the race. No matter what happens, these guys are screwed. They're going to be top split regardless.
Al Fredrickson in the Twitch chat going for Oscar Fredrickson again right now, running a very solid P5 at the moment. Pretty much where he's been the entirety of this sprint race.
Oy.
Marcus Hagman correct, a wonderful recovery drive from Sam Hammerstedt, not to only have started towards the back for winning. Ricard Allard battling with Sebastian Magnussen for 13th going into Tamburello, and it will be Ricard Allard taking the spot. But also to overcome that drive-through penalty he had to now being just about a second and a half off of a podium spot.
Felix Olsen had a moment a couple laps ago, or on the last lap. Had a big off track.
Ooh, a big wiggle that's going into Piratella. Able to save it though. Inside of 5 minutes to go, Andreas Forrest coming to the back of Tim Arskog. This would be for 10th. Arskog in the 124 BMW, Force in the 339 Porsche. Hammerstedt casually setting fast slap at a 142.31.
As you do.
Had to work for that one. Jesper Eriksson, a 142.48. Only 3 drivers in this race tonight have been sub 143. Jesper Eriksson, Gustav Jansson, and Sam Hammerstedt. Daniel Homer has gotten close. Philip Ansel has gotten close. 43.03, 43.04 for those two respectively.
And what do those drivers who have gone sub 143 have in common?
Forza Sports.
There you go.
Andreas Forrest looking to the inside of Tim Arskog going through Tosa. Seen that outside of Tosa really help these guys going up the hill towards Piratella. Not just in this race, but in the sprint race as well, as the battle for third now is on between Gustav Jansson and Sam Hammerstedt. This will be the second time in consecutive weeks
that these two guys have run stem to stern like this.
Well, I will say this is the first time, if he can get the move done and if he can stay in front of him, this will be the first time during a sprint weekend that Hammerstedt will actually beat out Jansson in the main feature race.
If he can hold on from here.
Well, he has to do so for Sam, a couple more minutes.
Sam, if you're listening and you don't end up on the podium, you can blame Frank Marchese, care of Sim Racing Media Towers, Hollywood, California, P.O. Box OU812.
Robert Eriksson coming in the 35 Mercedes. Back to the battle between Arskog and Force. Naturally, there is a difference between Thors.
Correct.
of Force Esports and Andreas Force.
Yeah, it's F-O-R-E-S instead of F-O-R-S-S.
There's that number 339. Oh,
Oi!
watch out! Tim Arscott
Tim.
pushing a little bit too much coming out of Tosa.
Four is absolutely nowhere to go, finishes him off.
Yeah, you can't really blame.
That is heavy front end damage on that BMW of Arskog.
Yeah, you can't really blame. See, that's just nowhere to go there. The whole front of that BMW done away with.
I didn't know there was such a thing as a BMW pavement modified.
Wrong camera there, and there's already up and gone. And as flat as that BMW nose is normally,
it's even flatter now.
If it's even still there.
Well, there's a radiator there. Kinda.
Well, we're probably going to be done on this lap. Jesper Eriksson coming through Aqua Minerale with 25 seconds to go. And unfortunately for Andreas Force, that will put him over the penalty mark, which means he's going to lose a couple of spots. Because the iRacing penalty system.
Because reasons.
So Jesper Eriksson started in third after finishing in 18th. For the sprint race, we'll head on down Rivazza. We are beyond the 45-minute mark. It is a Force Esports car, but it is not one of the two names that we have seen on the top step of the podium all season long. Jesper Eriksson comes through the Variante Bassa. He will win here at Imola to close out the first half of the season. A perfect first half of the season for Force Esports.
Yuka Ware coming home in second, kind of mixing up that podium so it's not a complete Force Esports lockout. Good drive from Yuka today. Didn't have the sprint race he was hoping for, but when it came crunch time and here in the feature, he made it happen.
Sam Hammerstedt really had this place on lockdown. Imagine where he would be if it wasn't for the 28 seconds that he spent having to drive down pit lane earlier on. Gustav Jansson coming home in P4. Battle towards the line. Daniel Holmer will maintain that sixth position over Philip Ansel. No real positions up for grabs either for the remainder of this run here. Andreas Force, again, we saw the incident that he had having to make a drive-through penalty after it. Will go from being inside the top 10 to P11, just ahead of Ricard Allard's Team Porsche. Coming home in 12th, Marcus Stiller and Victor Hammerstedt, I believe, are done. Or Hammerstrom, pardon me. No, they're not. Coming out of the final Rivazza corner, and the Mercedes will hold on versus the Audi of Hammerstrom. And that will officially put to end the fourth round of the season, Tony.
It absolutely will, Frank. And, I mean, what a race we got the privilege to bring to the masses. Yes, when somebody got into clean air, it was kind of a runaway in both the heat and the feature. But we saw pockets of racing that were just skill level accelerated.
Absolutely were. So we'll put the finishing results back on the screen for you as we work towards bringing you the three podium finishers here to sit and have a conversation with us. And right now, I believe Tony is with our race winner, Jesper Eriksson.
Jesper Eriksson clawed your way through this piece, got to the front, stayed in the front. Congratulations on winning at Imola.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it feels good when someone says Jesper Eriksson is a race winner. I don't hear it often, but it feels good.
Well, being on the team that you're on, I'm kind of surprised you don't hear it more often. Because I thought that's all you guys do over there at Forza Esports is win.
We sure do, but oftenly it's not me that gets it.
Well, you got it here today in Imola. How special is this one?
It's special. It's my first win in this GT3 series, and I have fought so hard to get the win through last season and this season, and finally I got it. Though I did get it from spinning the first leader, which kind of feels bad, but a win is a win, I guess.
A win is a win, and they don't ask how, they ask how many. But you definitely you got to it today. You held it off. Talk us through how difficult it could be back in traffic.
Uh, on this track, it's hard. It kills your motivation. You can't overtake, and it feels bad. So on tracks like this, it's not fun.
Well, it looks like you were having fun there, leading most of this feature race. But Jasper, 2 weeks from now, we go to South Florida and Sebring International. What are your thoughts going into the 1 hour endurance race there?
It's a format that I'm a little bit more familiar with, and a format that I like. Just doing 1 hour stints driving and driving. So and Sebring, it's not my best track. Don't like the bumps. Can't respect them enough, and but it will be fun. Hopefully.
Well, 17 can be a monster, that's for sure. But Jasper, again, congratulations on getting your first win here in the GT3 division. Are you going to be with us next week for Michigan in the Cup Series?
Absolutely.
Awesome. But Jasper, we're going to let you go celebrate your first win. Hard fought victory. Who do you need to thank before we turn you loose, my friend?
As usual, the whole team, all the practices we've done, and all the teamwork throughout the race. We talk constantly, and all the sponsors, specifically Moby, for staying with us. Such a good sponsor and such a good friend to all of us in the team.
All right, Jasper Eriksson, again, congratulations on your victory here tonight at Imola. We'll see you next week in Michigan.
We sure will.
And Frank, I believe you've got the man who finished second to him with you now.
I do. Our second place finisher, Yoka Ware. Yoka, it appeared as though you just didn't quite have enough, but with the starting spot that you had for the second race, it puts you in a very, very nice position.
It is a bittersweet position, yes. I think both me and Jasper had a bit of a bad first heat, caught up in some incidents we didn't really wished for, so to say. But ended up in a good position for now, and for the future heats, yeah, it turned out good.
As I had noted multiple times during the event, you came into this race in third place in points, and while you didn't get the sprint race result that you were looking for, to come home and beat both Sam and Gustav, the two drivers who are ahead of you in points, I'm sure that has to be a nice little consolation for the feature.
It sure was. It sure was. But noticing those two guys in my mirror, I gotta say, even if I had a 10-second gap when we first, when they first actually settled in and started to chase me down, I gotta say, 10-second gap with these guys behind you is not very. You don't feel very safe, especially with Sam overtaking Gustav later on. Because I know Gustav is a really quick person, but Sam is just out of this world. So I got very sweaty when I saw that happen behind me.
So in 2 weeks' time, we head to yet another. It is our second to last straight endurance race. We head to Sebring in 2 weeks. What are your thoughts going to America for the second time this season?
It's going to be very interesting. That is a track that I know we all. I think we all look forward to, but as much as we look forward to it, we are also very afraid of what's going to happen there, or at least we show some mutual respect to that track. We know that it can very quickly go to south, so to say.
It certainly can. Anyone else you want to thank before we let you go?
I want to thank everyone, and I want to thank especially Jasper, Sam, and Gustav. Those guys are definitely putting on a show here, and I gotta say that was some good racing. Even if this is not a favorite track of mine, but yeah, I managed to hold them back behind me. Though these guys are, yeah, they're making it sweaty, man. Jesus.
All right, bud. Congratulations on a second place finish. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Sebring.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.
And that would mean Tony is with our third place finisher, the fastest man on track tonight, Sam Hammerstedt.
Sam Hammerstedt, all things considered, can't be too disappointed with a podium finish here in Imola.
No, I'm not that disappointed. The speed was exceptionally good, so took pole, and then the first race was quite calm for my part. Then race 2, good start, and then again my luck in these second races starting from the back. I was in the hairpin in the second sector on the track. 3 cars spun when I was probably 10 feet behind. So how am I going to disappear? It's not possible. And then I was touched again, 4X, got the drive through, came out P20. Completely furious and tired of all these what do you call them, stock ups in the second races, and just put my sights on the podium, and I knew I had the pace for it. And here we are.
Well, that would explain why for 5 straight laps you reset the fastest lap of the race. Should we start calling you Ken Miles now, or do you want me to wait till after the season's over?
I
But
guess
Sam,
we'll have to wait until the season's over.
Well, in 2 weeks we're going to go to a race that is going to fall right into your wheelhouse. Straight up 80-minute endurance race from Sebring. Your thoughts going into that historic track?
Yeah, it's quite a bumpy one. Probably gonna have to turn down the force feedback to not get all these bruises on my hands. But I like the track. It's a tricky track, and I think we'll have some good pace there as well. So hopefully we can get another win.
All right, Sam, before we let you go celebrate tonight here in Imola and celebrate it Italian style, get yourself some Italian meatballs instead of the Swedish ones you're used to. Who do you need to thank?
I gotta thank my team, Force Esports, for all the support as always, and our sponsors Kappa Bar, Cooler Master, and Mabe Hyrbilar. And of course, I'd like to thank my parents once again.
Sam Hammerstedt, congratulations on your first podium in the endurance portion of a dual weekend. Best of luck to you in 2 weeks at Sebring.
Thank you.
And Frank, that would put another one in the books for us, my friend.
Yes, sir, it would. And a very, very fun day out here at Imola. It's such a great track, such a historic racetrack. And to be able to come here and put on the race that these guys did just showed how good these guys are on a week in and week out basis.
Oh, it absolutely does. And like I said, if you look at the I ratings of the drivers that finished in the top 10, you're well north of 5,000. If you go to just the top 5, it jumps up to an average just north of 6,000. So that's just insane.
Just a crazy amount of skill here in this series, and we will see it on full display in 2 weeks' time when we head to Sebring in these cars once again. We will take a look now at the final results here for tonight's races, if they haven't been up on the screen this whole time. Jesper Eriksson, Joko Ware, and Sam Hammerstedt, we've heard from those three, your race winners here tonight. Gustav Jansson and Oscar Fredriksson round out the top 5. It's Daniel Holmer, Philip Ansel, Lucas Holmgren, and Philip Axelson, and Robert Eriksson rounding out the top 10. Andreas Force, after we saw that incident that he just flat out could not avoid, having to come in to serve a drive-through penalty starting the final lap, he comes home in 11th to round out the top half of the field.
Ricard Allard, Sebastian Magnussen, Marcus Stiller, Victor Hammerstrom, and Tim Arskog round out your lead lap cars in 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Pontius Norgren, not what Ferrari was hoping for here tonight. Unfortunately, could only salvage a 17th position in the main feature. Felix Olsen, Joachim Ulrichsen, Mikael Helgifson, Michael Heflidison, I can pronounce this, I promise I can, and Philip Broberg rounding out your field of starters here tonight from Imola.
Michael Heflidison not finishing the feature race, and Philip Broberg not finishing the feature race either, after starting on the pole and getting punted out of the race lead by the eventual race winner, Jesper Eriksson. And to that point, he had said that it doesn't feel good to win a race like that, but when it happens so early on, you still have 44 and a half minutes effectively to make a mistake to take you out of that win.
Correct. And, you really have to keep your wits about you. Okay, yeah, I screwed up early, but I still have a race to drive here. And he did.
Absolutely did. So with that, for my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. We will see you next week at Michigan for round number 4 of the Cup Series season, and we will begin the second half of the GT3 season in 2 weeks' time with a 1-hour endurance race from Sebring. We will see you all then. Until then, good night, everybody.